bits and pieces which I hope you find helpful. So my name is Alistair McLaughlin. I'm Industry Relationship Manager for Edinburgh and Midlothian for Visit Scotland. So my role...
Alistair, I'm very sorry. Is your presentation going to be available as a copy at the end or by email afterwards?
I can, yeah.
It depends how much writing I have to do. Yeah, so I can get a copy at the end. That's
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is I've got points there. I will be saying other things on there.
As long as I've got the basis, that's fine. Thank you.
But yeah. So my role is to engage with the whole industry, and I tend to do it on a reactive level. There's about 1,500 businesses in Edinburgh, and always basically as a conduit between Visit Scotland and industry. So what I wanted to talk about is a number of things. So how to raise your profile, which is kind of what everyone wants to do in order to get more bookings. So there's a number of things which I was going to concentrate on talking tonight. Firstly is quality assurance, and this is really to make sure that you're aware of the scheme which we run. Some of you are already in it. And just talk a little bit about that. Inclusivity. This is an area we've been doing quite a lot of work on, and this is great from a moral point of view. Sometimes you have to do it from a legislative point of view, but there's actually a really big commercial reason for it as well. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and also to dispel some perceptions that it's all about mobility, but I'll come on to that then. Visitor experience, and I'll talk about what I mean by that, but just really broadly, that is what are your visitors doing that you are working with them, as opposed to just providing a bed, as it were. So lastly, destination sell, and this leads on pretty well from visitor experience, and that's what I'm basically asking you to do, our job, which is talk about Scotland and the area and such like in terms of any marketing that you're doing. Then we'll talk about online presence and the importance of that, and really what you need to do, and this is obviously got the connection with the Bookster guys here as well. And lastly, I'll talk about Visit Scotland resources, just generally for industry, which you may find helpful in terms of any of your promotion. Okay, so actually bouncing back a bit, Industry Relationship Manager profile, very quickly. If you're not based in Edinburgh, there's one of me in every area in Scotland. There's 14 of us. And we're really there to help businesses aware of the resources we have to offer, and as a conduit for industry. We liaise with all tourism businesses, whether that's a taxi driver, whether that's a walking tour, whether it's a campsite, you guys, hotels, everything. Okay, customer experience. So quality assurance, that is the star grading and the blue plaques there, which some of you members, others you may not know very much about it. Now, there's a perception with star gradings that it's all about facilities. Our scheme isn't all about facilities, it's a bit about facilities. And it's there's a lot about service, and quality is really what we're trying to promote. So the old thought that if you have a trouser press, you're 3-star, if you have a swimming pool, you're 5-star, we don't really work like that. So what is it? It's a biennial visit when one of our guys will make an appointment to come and see you, look at the property, have a discussion, and then on the result of that award you a grade for that. Now, impartial or objective advice is what the guys are offering. Now, lots of people say, well, I don't need to start grading, we need to pay for it because there is a charge for it. I can just get everything on TripAdvisor. Now, what I would say with review sites is that they're great and they certainly have their place. We're different for a couple of reasons. One is that the review sites are very much about somebody's personal point of view, or personal opinion. Our guys are trained for a long period of time, and they have any sense of personal taste knocked out of them in training. They don't have any personal taste whatsoever. So it's really what it is about is benchmarking across the industry, across the country. And it's so they have a standard, and it doesn't matter if their personal taste isn't your wallpaper, that doesn't matter. It's the quality of it, or the quality of the furniture, or the size that you have, to a degree, of space between bed and cover, and so on and so forth. If you're looking for any, we have criteria. Whether you want to join the scheme or not, you might find it helpful just looking at the criteria, just to give you an idea of what our expectations are. And as I said, it's benchmarking. The other thing is, it's not meant to be a tick box campaign with our guys coming around with a clipboard saying, yes, yes, we do this. It's about having a two-way conversation. And these guys are travelling around the country all the time, looking at properties, a lot of self-catering, visitor attractions, so they know an awful lot. And so if you're interested in scheme, use these guys and drill as much information, pinch as many ideas as you can off them, because that's part of the deal as well. Okay, we'll move on. This picture. This is one of the things, it hasn't got anything actually written here, because I took it off another presentation, but I really like it because part of what we talk about is service in quality assurance, and not just service, which is efficiency, but hospitality, which is engaging. And Britannia, which is the yacht there, is one of the highest scoring visitor attractions in the holiday, in the quality assurance scheme. And I like to say even the statues are smiling. So even though there's nothing there, I just like to keep that picture in. So next one. Okay, inclusivity. This is for stats, and I'm not going to do much stats, but we have this page here, which is 1/5 of people are disabled or have a disability in the UK population. 7% of visitors who come to Scotland with a perceived disability come in a wheelchair. Actually, the big one is hearing. And actually, when we talk about it, 7% of people with perceived disabilities are what we call the invisible disabilities. We're changing the titles all the time, neurodiverse, all sorts of things, so that can include autism, dementia, all sorts of things there. But the market value is £133 billion, so that's a lot of money, potentially of people who generally don't go on holiday because it's seen as too much hassle. So what we're trying to do is say to in Scotland, you can come on holiday, you can stay, and I'm going to go on how this might be relevant for you guys as well. As another point is 42% of 65-year-olds and over have a perceived disability as well. So that's a lot of people and a lot of income, potentially. So how we can help. We have a template which we call an access guide. And previously, what we used to do was our quality assurance guys would come around with a tape measure, and we would measure your loo, and if it was the right size, you got a tick. And that's how it worked. Now, we don't really think that's appropriate given wheelchair people, if it's only 7% of visitors. So now the access guide is about you guys as business owners saying this is what we can, or almost as importantly, what we can't offer, because information is key. If any of you have front of house, then there's an online guide in terms of service, and this is really down to awkwardness. You sometimes find reception desks, someone who maybe comes in a wheelchair, for example, someone will look at the person pushing the wheelchair, the person, their kids, a dog, anyone apart from the person in the chair who's paying the bill. And it's not because they're wanting to be discriminatory, it's just awkward. So this is really, we've got a guide about that. And it comes under attitude, which is key. We also have got details on guide dog legislation and also best practice. I'll give you some examples within the industry of what people are doing with regards disabilities. Now it's not necessarily all going to be suitable for you self-catering, but it may give you some ideas to think about. I've got 3 examples. One is Hard Rock Cafe. They have an hour every month where they switch off the music completely, and that's specifically for kids with autism, so they're not distracted by the music. Now, Hard Rock Cafe is obviously all about the music, but they have enough other visual things which are attractive. And it also means that there is a place where parents who've got kids with autism or adults might go and they know that they're not going to have lots of music going on. National Galleries of Scotland. And this might be of interest for any of your guests actually as well. National Galleries of Scotland, all of their staff have had dementia training. And I really like this one. The Lyceum Theatre, just down the road there, for visually impaired visitors, they have a time at the beginning of some shows where visually impaired visitors can come onto the stage and feel the props before the show. So when they sit down, they can't see what's going on necessarily, but they've felt, so it adds to that experience. So that's just some examples. Just something to think about, that it's not all about having your loo big enough to get a wheelchair in. So, lastly, I don't know if any of you know the review site Ewan's Guide. Ewan's Guide is specifically for visitors with disabilities. So maybe just worth a wee look at. If nothing else, if you have any guests who have disabilities, they might be interested in it, because it will show what suits. That link from the last one is where you can find all that information I've talked about there. So really, if we're going to talk about inclusivity, to break it down, information provision, you want to make that, you need to say what you can do and what you can't do, because one of the things that really annoys people is wrong information. So they'll turn up, think somewhere's got a ramp, and it doesn't have a ramp, or hearing loop, and it doesn't. So just being correct. Even if you don't have it, say you don't have it. Customer service, and that's all about attitude, as we talked about before. Treating someone with disability as you would anyone else. And as people, when they do these presentations, talk about, has anyone ever come across a grumpy visitor with a disability? Quite possibly. Have you come up with any other guests who are grumpy? Quite definitely. So, and also accessible design. That's also something to think about. And that's where people like Ewan's Guide are worth looking at, because they will give you these kind of tips as well. There's a lot of charities. If this is something that you're interested in, the charities have got a lot of really good information. Even for example, dyslexia awareness, their font, they have examples of font which is suitable for dyslexic people. Century Gothic is the one which tends to work, and that's 1 in 10 of the population. So again, something just to think about there. Okay, experiences. What do we mean by experiences and why? Well, this is really, when businesses speak to me quite often, I'm saying, tell me about, not so much about what you do, but what you do differently to everybody else. It's a very competitive market in all sectors of this industry. And it's really what by experiences, it's an overused word, I think. Experiential has got to crept in as well. So really what it is you're adding value to what you offer already. So what other things can you throw in to your offering, which is more than a bed, as it were. So, and it, by examples of that, what you could do is, if you're maybe partnering with a tour company or walking tours, or you can know somebody who is doing local catering, these sort of things, or packed lunches, a whole range of different things. What it is it's more than somebody just staying with you and that's it, and no interaction. And it's purely, basically, accommodation, because there's lots of that. So what you're saying to a visitor is, we do this, and we can also offer this. And you don't necessarily need to get into the whole package thing, because that you need to think about as well in terms of insurance. But it's even providing these contacts and telling your visitors that these contacts are available there. And that will lead to exceeding expectations. Because ultimately what we're all trying to do is, if somebody comes to Scotland, we want them to leave with a better impression than when they first came, because that way they'll hopefully come back, which is just a really simple thing of what we're trying to do. So it's about making connections with local shops, local restaurants, and especially if you've been to them and you can give that personal touch in anything you're talking to them about. If you're doing social media or blogs or that sort of thing, talk about the locality, because that's ultimately what is going to, if someone's going to stay with you, they want to know that the locality is great and there's lots of things that they can do when they're there. And these are great things for social media and PR, these kind of stories. And from our point of view, that's the sort of thing we like to know about as well. Is that if you're doing something, you're partnering with somebody, creating this, let's call it a package or just a partnership, whatever, but it's something that a visitor will come and say, right, wow, this is something more than just somewhere to stay. And I'll give an example of something which worked. I went to visit a bed and breakfast, and they weren't getting many bookings, just a wee one, 2 rooms. And we were talking for about 2 hours. It was very pleasant, but we weren't actually getting anywhere in terms of what the answer was. But a lady walked in with some cakes and some bread, and she said, oh, that's our daughter. She runs a bakery. This is organic, and we're the only organic bed and breakfast in Edinburgh. I went, right, okay. I've asked if you do anything which is slightly different, and nothing, and now we've got this. So give me 100 words of that. So I took 100 words and a picture, sent it to our PR team, and they got contacted by the BBC Food Guide. And they didn't have too much problem after that for a while. So in terms of accommodation. So that's just an example. I mean, I use that a lot because it's a really good example, but of how working with someone, just if something can be a wee bit, you can offer a little bit extra for you. So that's what I think we mean by experiences. And that's where it's really about you guys offering more than, or just being clever and speaking to the right people and telling your guests about it. Okay, destination sell. As I say, this is a bit where I ask you to do our job. But no one comes to Edinburgh to look at 4 walls, no matter how beautiful these 4 walls are. They want to go out and see the city. So and certainly from our website, people who are looking at our website may never have been to Edinburgh, they may never have been to Scotland before. So when they look at your property listing or however you're promoting, you want to be telling them, this is how you're going to have a great holiday. This is all the things which are going on. And we've got lots of things which we can help you with that from the website VisitScotland.com. For example, if you've got people coming at a certain time of year, we've got an events guide, which Edinburgh's always got something on. I do middle of November, midweek, and if you do a search on our events page, there's up to 100 different things going on. So there's always something going on. So if you have visitors coming at a certain time, if you were to link and say, this is what's going on at this time, you might find that interesting. And also, if you're using that on social media, and you know of an event coming up, they may say, all right, okay, I wasn't going to go to Edinburgh. I am now because I really like that event. I'm going to stay with you because it was on your social media and you told me about it. So obviously you're a good guy and we're like-minded people, sort of thing. So that's really, I guess, us talk about the country, talk about the city, talk about all the things which your guests may want to do in any form of promotion that you're doing. There's a web listing there, it's what drives visitors to come to Scotland, and you might find this useful. On the website VisitScotland.org, we have country profiles of the visitors from different countries who come to Scotland and what drives them to come to Scotland. So if you have guests from a certain country, you may want to tweak what you provide for them. It's a generalisation, obviously, but it'll give you an idea. And for UK visitors, we've got even more in-depth profile of who they are and why they come to Scotland. You're down to the newspapers they read, to how much they're on a computer, all of this kind of information. So that, again, you will use that and you get an understanding of who's actually coming to visit. We also have an image library, so if you need any destination pictures of Edinburgh, Scotland, wherever, it's free to use. You can just register and download these images. So they're there for you to use, which again is saying, this is our beautiful property and we're in this beautiful country with these beautiful pictures. So that's us here for that. Online presence and bookability. Well, just again, a few stats there. The landscape, obviously, as I'm sure you're all aware, has changed quite dramatically. 75% of people are online every day, and technology now allows for real-time booking. Ease of bookability is a decider amongst other drivers for a holiday. And you have people who buy everything now on their phone, and holidays are no different. So having that real-time online bookability is now more and more a requirement for holidaymakers. You don't obviously have to do it, but it does mean that you're missing out on quite a lot of people who are coming. Also, real-time increases your chance of international business, who generally stay longer, which I'm sure for you guys is good, if you've got people on longer visits. Distribution, but online bookability is only half the story. So there's a couple of angles, well, actually I'd say 3 angles you can take. One is that you are so amazingly popular that all your business comes through word of mouth, and that's great, but I'm sure not everyone's quite there yet. Organic traffic. Now this is if you were just to say, right, I've done my website and it's really good, and I'm just going to wait for people to come to my website and stay with me. That's possible maybe, but it's really hard work. You need to have fresh and inspiring content all the time, probably paid campaigns, definitely a social media strategy, and actively using your database to try and promote word of mouth as well. So, which brings us to online travel agents. They may have high commission. They do have high commission, but they have a huge distribution and also high SEO. So if you do a Google search and have a look and see what comes up, if you're doing apartments Edinburgh or any of these things. So I think just to put things into perspective, the big guys, your Booking.coms, Expedias, these kind of guys, which obviously with Bookster you can channel to, they're spending about £45 billion a year on marketing, which is a bob or two. It's certainly a lot more than we as Visit Scotland have, and certainly any business I've come across, unless they're not telling me something, so that's kind of what the commissions are going to. It's that distribution. So that's onto there. Okay, so what Visit Scotland offers and what Visit Scotland needs. Now, what we offer, every business can have a free listing on VisitScotland.com. any tourism business. So any of you guys, if you haven't already, you can have a listing. Where you'll find it, I've got some business cards on the table there to contact me, or the website VisitScotland.org. There is a section which just says global website, and if you go into that, that will allow you to sign up for a free listing. You get a password which will allow you to change any images, change any text. Your details are all on that. And what we can't do is online booking. And this is where Bookster come in, because they have integrated with VisitScotland.com, which means if you're integrated with them, then all you need to put is your ID number in there. That means you will come up on date searches. So if someone comes on to VisitScotland.com looking for accommodation in Edinburgh, you will appear, but if you don't have that ID in, where you won't appear is if somebody comes up, so I want to stay from the 8th of August to the 9th of August or the 12th of August or whatever. You can find any accommodation at that time of year, but then you will only appear if you've integrated. And that's about 50% of traffic which comes through to us for accommodation. So that is open to everybody, and from our point of view it's free. We don't take any commission. It's purely a platform through to Bookster and the other web booking engines. Imagery I've mentioned, research and insights as well. These are all on the website VisitScotland.org.
Excuse me, to ask a question.
Yes, of course.
The free listing.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily take you down the quality assurance scheme.
No, no.
And the quality assurance scheme for self-catering.
Yes.
Is it by apartment or number of apartments? Like
Yes,
hotel?
there is a cost by number of apartments.
By each apartment?
Yeah.
And how much is that?
Well, for individual, it depends on how far away they are from each other and how many we can get done in a day.
No, the cost.
Yeah, but
so
that's, so that's
I
how
see.
that comes in.
Right.
So
if an owner has more than one,
Yeah.
it'll cost it accordingly.
There's a costing on there. It's about 136 plus that. For an annual fee, then it's £22 per unit. But that's only if we can get it done in that day. So if you've got 100 apartments all around the country, you're not getting it that way. So that's how it works. But that's another thing which I can do is maybe circulate the prices. It's all on the Scotland.org. Yeah. But we don't. There isn't a. In order to engage in any other activities with us, there's not a. You don't have to be part of the quality scheme.
No. So you can have that listing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can I ask, is it possible to have 5 stars for self-catering?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it didn't used to be.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
You don't have to be a catering department to get 5 stars.
No.
Can I ask, if you get your quality assurance,
Yeah.
can you use that on any other platforms that you don't, there's
Yes,
no
I should have said that. We would actively encourage you to do that. So if you have quality assurance, it's not just for our listing, it's to use out there as much as possible.
And there's no risk, we could use it on Airbnb, we could use it on...
Yeah, if they're happy with it, we're happy with it.
Okay, fair enough.
We'd like the scheme to get out there as much as possible,
Okay.
so yeah,
And
please
how do
do.
you get onto it? Do you have to pay for somebody to come and watch it? Or what?
Yes, there is a charge for that, but we could circulate the costings for that.
How does this fit with Edinburgh's
Oh, yes.
growing your whole, sorry to ask this question, but
Go on, we all want
the
to know.
solution
Right
for your
question.
holiday rental business,
Mm.
how does this fit with Visit Tourism and Edinburgh's drive on increasing tourism numbers, and
Yeah.
are you, it sounds like Visit Scotland are supporting your holiday rental business?
Yeah, well, in terms of, are you talking about the sort of cap on the amount of days we can, No, that's absolutely fine, and because I get asked about it a lot, about what are we doing about it.
Yeah.
And the answer is, there's a limit to how much influence we have in terms of the council anyway. There's a number of things, and generally we tend to keep out of it. So what we would always encourage people to do, though, is to speak to lobbying bodies. Basically, we're paid by the government, so there's a limit to how much of lobbying we do. So that would be the Association of Scottish Self-Caterers or Scottish Tourism Alliance. So these would be the guys who I would suggest to contact. And I know the Association of Scottish Self-Caterers are already doing quite a lot of lobbying on their behalf.
It's actually worth noting, next month, for this event, we've got Fiona coming from the Association of Self-Caterers, so if you've got any questions you want to ask her then as well, then bring them along.
There's a lot of noise about it.
Yeah.
Are you aware of anything coming down the pipeline yet, or is it
No,
let
I've been
the noise happen?
before coming along here. I was trying to find out as much as I could, but I haven't had any more. But there's, to be honest, there's a number of different things going on. Which
it's a bit odious to offer. We must do something.
Mm.
As far as I'm aware, I've not come across anything else yet.
No, it's proposals as far as I've seen so far.
There is a citizens group, isn't there? Isn't there? Citizens of Edinburgh, isn't there? There's a sort of new group that's...
There's a lot of people making a lot of noise.
Yes.
But it's a huge double-sided coin. It's worth a shitload of money to Edinburgh. And
Yes.
everybody who lives here as well as visits benefits from that.
Yes.
I think the clever thing is with you guys is to match quality with availability.
Yes.
If you're not good, you don't get to play. If you are good, you get to play.
Yeah.
And that's probably
that's
it should end up, whether it does end up that way or not.
Yes, so there's various. I mean, ultimately, we're not a regulatory body, so we can't force anyone to do anything, really. It used to be that in order to get onto our website, you did have to be part of the quality assurance scheme, but that's not the case anymore. Again, because it's a state aid issue, so because we're public funded, it's seen as discriminatory. If it's just so that's where we're at the moment. But yeah, I'm watching that space as well.
Do you see any trends coming down the line in the tourist industry that would affect self-catering?
I suppose I think that I'm finding, and I don't know, you guys will know better, is that lead-in times are getting shorter. Like some of them are really getting short in terms of when people are booking. But that's been going on for a fair amount of years. And I had somebody who said that they had a booking for 6 weeks, 4 weeks out. I mean, they couldn't do it, but it was these sort of things. Beginning of the year was quiet for a lot of the industry, but certainly picked up. This is what I'm just generally getting. January was always a bit dead in Edinburgh anyway, but it seemed to slip on a bit longer this year. So in terms of trends, the experience thing is something which we are finding people are wanting to get their hands dirty. So they like to go and see where things are happening, do things. So it's less of a, I suppose, a pedestrian way of taking a holiday, just going and having a look at things. People want to see actual things going on. Examples of where things have, in Edinburgh, on the High Street, there's Mackenzie Leatherworks, where you can see the workshop in the actual shop itself. That sort of thing goes down really well. And people actually doing things as well as we're getting information for that works for people. Again, on the research and insight section of VisitScotland.org, there's quite a lot of good information in terms of not so much forecasts, but there are trends.
I just asked, you mentioned about TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
And sceptical there about
Yes.
The content.
Yeah.
But in recent years, Visit Scotland have been promoting or asking that certain businesses do link and have registered with TripAdvisor. And in fact, some of your inspectors look at the comments on TripAdvisor before visiting.
Yeah.
What is the policy now?
Well, the policy, generally we work with TripAdvisor a number of ways. The fact is it's there, and this is a review site, so we do look, because it gives us information just on it's quite a resource. I mean, obviously we don't take everything as face value which is on there, but the guys will look just to see. And also there's kind of a customer experience there as well, in terms of how, is there any response to the inquiries and such like on TripAdvisor? Because there's a service element to that as well. And we're not saying that you answer everyone. We've got people like Dungeon who are getting hundreds a day, you know, we wouldn't expect them to answer every TripAdvisor inquiry. But I suppose the quality advisors are really looking at it from a point of view that it's as well, there's a help for your business because TripAdvisor is there, and if you're going to use it as well, whether you're sceptical now, it's a reality and it's there.
Yeah.
So it's a case of using it as well as you can, and there's various tools through people like Digital Tourism Scotland. Does everybody or nobody know about Digital Tourism Scotland? Yeah. What it is we work in partnership with them. They do a lot of courses on upskilling in terms of digital awareness. ETAG. Digital Tourism Scotland are pan-Scotland, but they work a lot with ETAG, certainly, in terms of doing their courses. Courses tend to be about £25, and we'll look at SEO, Google Analytics, a whole range of different things. And one of the advantages is that it's tourism focused, so if you're in a room with lots of people there, all tourism businesses, so from a networking point of view, that's good there as well.
You mentioned the German market.
Yeah.
Do you have much about the Chinese market?
Yeah. China is. I think the thing about China is ETAG do a scheme which is China ready. We have a China toolkit. The way we work with China is really just with travel trade at the moment. It's what we call an emerging market, so we're less likely to do much in terms of consumer promotion. That in common with India, Brazil, Middle East as well. China is certainly big, and if you're interested in it, I mean the main there's an organisation called, the main OTA in China is C-Trip. Which is C-T-R-I-P. But the thing with the Chinese market is there is a degree of requirement for translation. So a lot of the C-Trip back page, for example, is in Mandarin. It's not for everybody. But the market is certainly there. There's a number of tour operators out there who specialise in it. So if you're looking at, I would look at the China toolkit initially. We did used to, we don't anymore, but it was quite good. We do welcome letters which you could cut and paste in Mandarin and such like. But
I think ETAG have a China conference, Get Ready China, in a couple of weeks' time. But they go into quite a lot of detail, like how to attract Chinese tourists through like WeChat. WeChat.
WeChat's
like
a payment scheme, because the other thing about the Chinese market is they don't have credit cards, and they bring cash, but they're not actually that comfortable with cash. If you go to a Chinese shopping mall, there aren't any ATMs, so it's all done on the phone.
Yeah, and they don't use like our Western social media channels, so it's quite hard to target them, I think, as well.
Yeah, so it's a way of getting into WeChat, but ETAG have been doing quite a lot of work with regards to that. So I remember, I may have gone, did I answer your question? Or was it a bit more?
I was going to ask, that obviously this particular discussions on smaller operators.
Yes.
What do you hear from the hotels? So there's a lot of hotels being built in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
It's a massive amount of new bed spaces. Are they still smiling and happy? Are they wanting to build more?
Seems to be. When I've been speaking to general managers of hotels, to be honest, I'm speaking more to the 4 stars and above. Anecdotally, and there is demand there. it's kind of like a seasonal thing. So a lot of them will work a lot of corporate because obviously holiday makers tend to concentrate on the summer, but there's a corporate market as well. So they're after that in many ways. And some of them they charge high rates, you know, so there's still business coming through.
That's an interesting part. What does Visit Scotland do in terms of attracting corporate stays?
Well, we tend to not concentrate so much on what we call business travel, which is visitors who are coming to have a meeting with somebody in a company. So we have a business events team who look at businesses, so look really at attracting events. So that's conferences, incentives, events and exhibitions.
The knock-on accommodation of an event target.
That's how we do it. And we work very closely with Marketing Edinburgh for that degree. So if we have a big inquiry for Edinburgh, we would normally send it their way.
Thank you.
There's a website, they have a website, business events team as well, which gives you, it lists actually all of the conference organisers and such like.
Within the Visit Scotland or within...
It's a separate website, yeah, it's within Visit Scotland. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Beer then.
That's splendid.
Thank you.
Thank you.